was stealing. It doesn't matter whether they had the color of the law behind them, they were stealing. Here on the ranch, I had an individual working for me, and part of his job, he was allowed to use one of the ranch trucks. He went to get supplies, and on his way back, him and another individual he was with basically stole a bunch of wire from the oil field site. They arrested the ranch hand for the theft of the oil field equipment, and they seized the truck. I assumed they were seizing it as evidence of the crime. I called them to ask when they were going to be done with it and I could get my truck back. And what I was told was it wasn't being taken as evidence. They were seizing it under civil asset forfeiture because it was used in a crime.
Civil forfeiture is basically where the government can take property from people, whether it be cash, cars, we've seen boats taken, we've seen TVs off their wall. The person is no longer the defendant, the property is.
They told me that since the truck was used in the crime, the truck was guilty of the crime and they could take it.
Stephen Mill's case is a perfect symptom to a bigger problem. Every way across the board, the system is fraught with abuse. Innocent people's stuff is being taken. The system is so perverted that it is like climbing Mount Everest to get your stuff back.
Civil asset forfeiture allows us to take illicit drug proceeds that would normally go back to line the pockets of the cartels, but it also can go into law enforcement efforts such as purchasing equipment that law enforcement will use to continue the battle against these drug organizations that are literally making billions of dollars. And every time we can make a dent, it can harm that cartel's operations.
You have to look at the drug trade, as a whole. When law enforcement says they're going after that, I'm sure there are, because we see the busts all the time, and I think that we should have the tools to do that. However, the problem is we shouldn't balance that on the backs of innocent people's stuff. The average forfeiture in Oklahoma is $1,200. The lowest we found was $40. $1,200 to an average Oklahoma family, that's rent, that's mortgage payment, that's a car payment. So are you telling me El Chapo is going to be put out of business because of $1,200?
I spent 24 years in the Army on active duty. I was a military police officer, and then I was a CID special agent. We would do a drug operation, and we'd go out, and when we would arrest the drug dealer, lots of times you would see the local agencies who were on the task force, they'd go into the house and they'd start pulling out televisions and video game console centers, and we asked one of them what they were doing, and they said, well, we're going to take it under civil asset forfeiture. The problem is law enforcement is using it even just to put a television in their break room.
We have sheriffs out there and agencies out there, if in their budget process they want a armed Humvee and their budget appropriators don't give it to them, they'll just use seized money to go get it. I introduced the bill, and all of a sudden law enforcement, it was almost like a knee-jerk reaction how this is a terrible piece of legislation.
What you're doing is basically creating a solution that really doesn't fit any scenario here in Oklahoma. There's a lot of safeguards in place and a lot of remedies available to the public who believe that a law enforcement agency acted inappropriately.
But I've had DAs call me a liar. I had a sheriff call me a socialist. I had another DA say that if my bill passes, beheadings in the streets of Tulsa because of ISIS will happen. It comes back to, should the government be able to take someone's stuff and keep it without charging them or proving it? And I say no.
I went to the Chickasha Express newspaper. They made a call to the DA to ask for a comment. About 2 hours later, I got a call saying, hey, the DA just called and said you can go pick up your truck. When my wife went to pick up the truck, she called me and she said, okay, I got the truck. The back window's broken, the tire's flat, and the antenna's missing. The Constitution protects our personal property. When the government uses civil asset forfeiture laws to go in and deprive a person of their property, whether they're taking it from drugs or not, they are circumventing the due process that is written into our Constitution. This isn't just a problem in Oklahoma, it's a national problem. But we need to change the whole mindset on a national level to take it back to the constitutionality of what's being done.